Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to talk about the one thing all good ball strikers do in their golf swing. All right guys, so let's talk about the one thing all good golfers do in their golf swing. But before we do, I want to let you know today's episode is sponsored by Super Speed Golf. So some of you guys know that I use Super Speed myself to increase my club head speed. I've used this with a lot of my players. You guys know a lot of the long drive guys, a lot of the tour guys are using Super Speed Golf. Essentially what it is they have weighted clubs, some that are lighter than your normal, about the same weight as your normal, and heavier than your normal, and it runs you through a routine designed to increase your club head speed. We've done a couple videos on it. We'll have a couple more videos coming out in the coming weeks and months on how to use these. I'm using it myself. I would recommend you guys do as well. Check out the link in the description down below for Super Speed. Increase your club head speed, hit the ball farther. Okay, so let's talk about the one thing that all good golfers, good ball strikers do in their golf swing. So I want to preface this by the idea of this video kind of comes around the thing that we say all the time, and I say it all the time in my videos, is that like over 90% of golf shots that are hit end up short of the target. I tried to think about this. I saw a little interview that I saw Jordan Spieth do, and he said he's never seen in a Pro-Am a golfer, amateur golfer, hit the ball over the green consistently. And I thought, you know what? I think that's true. I think 90% of people do miss short all the time. And I go through my playing lessons, people I play with giving lessons to, everybody misses short. They either hit a good shot or they miss short, and probably 75% of the time it's at or right of the target. So do you guys agree with me on that? I would say if we accept that as true, most amateur golfers miss short and to the right. There's one common thing that gets messed up that leads to that, and that's the same one thing that the good ball strikers do not do, okay? So what you guys do when you miss the shot short and right is you have a club face in your swing that is too open and or has too much dynamic loft. I'm gonna say that again. When you miss short and right, you have a club head and club face that has too much loft and is too open, period. Good players, the one thing they do in their swing is they have less dynamic loft and they have a club face that is not open, and specifically they do that in their swing by having a lot of lead arm or left arm supination. Okay, so today's video, you've heard me talk about it before, is based around left arm supination. Excuse me, the point of the supination is to square the club face and take loft off of the club. Now I want to go in a couple different directions with this today, how to practice it, why it's important, et cetera, but I want you to understand supination, left arm rotation. The first part to understand is what that does is it closes the club face and it lowers the dynamic loft. Okay, so if I were to make a swing, or we posted a swing of any decent golfer and you actually looked at it or measured, you would see their left arm would rotate a bunch. Okay, that's part number one. Part number two is that without fail, every single golfer who hits the ball semi-reasonably, I almost think any golfer who just makes contact with the ball and it flies somewhat at the target, but I'll say a good golfer has a lot of left arm supination or rotation during their swing. But Eric, what about guys like DJ who have a big bow and a club face that's close to the top? Nope, sorry, they still have a lot of supination. What about Brooks Koepka, who's got a club face like this coming down? No, still a lot of supination. Do they have as much supination arm rotation as someone with a weaker grip? Of course not, but they still have a lot of supination. I'm saying that over and over in the beginning because I want that to sink in that you need to do it. That's point number two. Point number three, might have like a list of 10 things here. Point number three is most all the time when I meet someone in person or talk to them about their golf swing, I ask them about what's wrong with their game. They say, I don't hit the ball solid enough. I hit it short and I hit it right. And then I go through this list of questions with them, and it almost always comes back to something along the lines of they've got some kind of flip, right? They don't like. So something along the lines of a flip or hand motion. And I say, well, why don't you, during your downswing, do something to rotate the club face more and get the club face close to the path? And almost without fail, they say, well, you're not supposed to do that. Not supposed to do that. So think about this for a minute. If you're playing golf for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and you hit the ball to the right forever, and your club face is too open, and I say to you, if you added more arm rotation, it wouldn't go to the right anymore. It would go more towards straight, okay? And that was an actual solution. Would you like the ball to go more straight, yes or no? Yes, of course you would. If you could rotate your arm more, would that happen? Yes. Most of you guys have this false notion that there's supposed to be like no arm rotation during your swing. And I'm supposed to make this swing where my arm just like doesn't rotate at all through my entire motion. And that is just not reality. So I want to really get that across, that you have to have arm rotation. The next point that I want to make, that I want to talk about in a little bit, is that, you know, almost essentially all good players that I've worked with, especially younger players and juniors as they grow up, have struggled with hitting a hook. And I want to talk to you a little bit about why I think training yourself to hit a hook and overhook in the beginning is going to be a good idea. Okay, the next part that I want to talk about is learning how to hit a draw or a hook. As I mentioned, just about all the good players I've ever taught, you know, and I'm talking about anyone who's shooting around par. If you're someone watching this and you shoot 100, above 100, in the 90s, in the 80s, you probably, I'm starting to think it would be a good idea for every single one of you to learn to get the club face closed to the path and learn to get the club working too far inside out and hit a hook pattern. And I don't care if you have a little early extension or your footwork doesn't work perfect or your wrist conditions aren't perfect. You need to create a ball pattern and get the face closed to the path consistently. Now, how I would do that in the beginning if I was teaching this, what we did in our Slice Fix product, the first thing we ever did was learn how to get the face close to the path. Now, if I stand here and I just take my left arm and I do this, which is arm supination, or a bunch of arm rotation, or what someone might call a flip motion, where my club face gets pointed down to the ground. Okay, some people would look at that and say, well, that's way too much face rotation. Okay, a couple things on that. Number one, if you make a swing and you come down and your club face is pointed too far to the right, and you hit a ball that goes too far to the right all the time, should you have more face rotation or less face rotation? Collectively, everyone watching says more face rotation. Of course, Eric, you should have more face rotation. But I don't think you're supposed to do that. You're not supposed to, there's timing involved. The face is closing to the path too soon. Who cares? Like, why are you worried about timing of the club face? Guess what, guys? You don't time the club face well as it is. You hit the ball to the right, the face is too open. You ain't timing it good. What you need to do is get the face more close to the path. Now, can you do that by changing your grip? Of course. Can you do that by making it more closed on the way back? Of course. But what guarantees it is that it's closed down here during impact phase. I teach all the time, and a guy that I work with, Paul Viol, that I took lessons from, would teach a lot of arm rotation in the beginning. And it's designed to get you to hit it left on purpose, okay? So if I'm hitting some shots, I want to hit the ball left on purpose and learn how to get the face closed. What did we say supination does? It closes the face to path and it lowers the dynamic loft. What do all good golfers do? They close the face and they lower the dynamic loft. Now, if you take this supination piece and you just do this, and you do nothing else, and I start to add a little body rotation, guess what it starts to look like? It starts to look perfect. If I take this supination, keep my body out of it, I just go like this, glove towards the camera, glove towards the ground, glove towards the camera, glove towards the ground, glove towards the camera, glove towards the ground, right? And I just start to turn with it. Wait a minute, that looks pretty good, does it not? Same thing here, boom, boom. And then I start to turn, and what happens is now my left wrist is just flexed and the face is square, okay? So learning that arm rotation piece in combination with a little bit of left wrist flexion or bow, which we're gonna talk about in a minute, is essential to you learning how to strike the ball well. So with your swing, what I wanna talk about next is, in reality, where the club face is, let's say at last parallel here in your golf swing, where the club face is pointed really dictates what your release pattern should be. Some of you guys are gonna watch this and say, hey, I don't like all that arm rotation. I want you to do a drive hold. That's cool. It depends on where your club face is at. In simple terms, let's break this down. During my downswing at P6, let's say we're at last parallel here, right? If I have the club face more and more and more and more tilted down, we would call that square to the plane or even close. The more I tilt my club face down, the less I have to do to have it square at impact, okay? The more I tilt it down here, the less I have to do here. If you watch like a Brooks Koepka from down the line in slow motion, see his club face is very tilted down. Does he need to have as much arm rotation to square the face? Of course not. Does he have some arm rotation to square the face? Of course he does, okay? Now, if I don't have my club face tilted down, if it's toe up like this, or God forbid, if it's pointed in this direction, you've got two options, and I want you to listen carefully to this part. If I'm here or I'm here, my club face is now too open. And I've essentially have two different options in terms of getting this thing back to square. What 90% of you do because you don't want to rotate your arms is you will flip. I know I'm not supposed to rotate my arms, no problem. I will not rotate my arms, but I will flip. I will from here, club face is too far up. I'm not going to rotate my arms, no problem. And then I go like this, okay? Now, what the 10% who are actually hitting the ball well with an open club face here like this, what they do to square it is they do what? What do you think I've been talking about here the whole time? They rotate their arm a bunch and they add a little left wrist flexion. So the only way that I've seen in terms of release pattern to play good golf, hit it good from a club face that's too far up. Could be too far up because your grip's too weak, could be because of wrist conditions, whatever. But if it's too far up, you need to curl it under and add a bunch of arm rotation. Those movements go together. Bowing and supination, or flexion supination, go together. So if I'm here and I want to play good, I either have to flip or I need to go this way. What does that mean? That means if you flip, part of the solution is to add more arm rotation. Some of you guys aren't going to like that. Some of you guys have been trying to not rotate your arms for 20 years, get rid of a flip, and I'm standing here telling you no. You need to add more arm rotation and more wrist flexion, or get this club face not up and down, get it tilted down here like this. I don't care which one you do, but some people can't do that, right? It's here like this, and you need to learn how to do that. Now, how do you learn how to do that? I'm going to show you a drill for that. I'm going to show you one other drill I want you to do to go back to the draw thing, then we're going to wrap up this half-hour video that we have going here. Okay, so the drill that I want to give you guys, if you're trying to tilt this down and learn how to do left wrist flexion, is the hanger. Some of you guys cracked me up when I got a comment on here the other day about posting new stuff on here. We post and talk about the same things because you guys need the same things to get better. How many different drills do you need to do your left wrist good? You need one. You need a hanger. You need to get good at a hanger, and you need to do it probably for day after day, week after week, month after month after month. You don't need a different drill. You got to get good at the same drill. So that's why we post the same thing all the time. Okay. So hanger on the side of the club. If you guys watch the other videos we've done, you know how to do this. Hanger on the side, it starts on your left wrist. The point of the hanger drill is to get this thing pressing against your left wrist early. So if you want to have your club face tilted down and you don't want to be here and add that arm rotation, that's fine. If I'm up to the top for me to do that, I need to take this hanger and press it and create pressure against my left wrist and my right thumb on the way down and start to get this back of my hand tilting down towards the ground while still keeping the club head inside. So it'll look like so, right? And then from there, I can keep pressing it against my left wrist and have more of a drive, hold, release pattern. I can do that. But you're still gonna have a lot of arm rotation. My glove goes from pointed over there to pointed at the target. That is a lot of rotation, even if you're doing a drive hold, okay? So you can hit balls with that and learn how to crank it down to get the club face down. I'm perfectly fine with that. Or if you don't want to do that at the end, do it into the follow through, right? Keep this on here like this and learn how to get it pressed against you into the follow through. You need to lose this idea that it's going to add time. You know what's funny too? We look at guys like Phil Mickelson and look at his golf swing and we pick it apart about how bad it is. How many of you guys have won a major before? How many of you guys have shot in the low 60s before? The reality is Mickelson's swing for 99.9% of us out there would be an amazing upgrade, okay? So my point is, don't worry about adding timing. If you have an open club face and hit it to the right for 9 years, you don't need to worry about timing. Every good younger player I've ever worked with gets this thing inside, slings it out to the right, and closes the face down. We've done drills before. If you watch guys like George Gankis, a 10-4 drill. Learn how to get this thing coming inside, learn how to get it over to the right, and do a little flip and hit flip hooks, right? So I would stand in here and get that arm rotation going and learn how to hook the ball to the left, lower the loft, and hit it left, hook, 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 hook. Some of you guys, I do that for like a whole month, okay? And then gradually, I would start to learn to add body rotation and it would straighten it out. That's how the process goes. If your face is too open, you're not hitting it solid, you do not add body rotation first. Okay, we're doing a rotation masterclass that's gonna launch in a couple weeks here on March 18th, and we talk about prerequisites. You have to have the face under control. So I'm gonna hit 2 more and then we're gonna wrap this up. So arm rotation, learn how to get the face turned down and left, and then when you add turn to it, it's gonna look normal. Boom, boom, turn, and then it looks normal. Okay, so very long video on what all good golfers do. This comes up so often in conversations that we felt the need to kind of go through that a little bit thorough. Hopefully that all made sense. We're jumping over a little bit. The point being, you need arm rotation no matter what you do. Where the club face is at last parallel is gonna really dictate your release pattern and how much turning it down and left wrist flexion you do or don't need. Almost all good players have fought a hook. So if you're afraid of hitting a hook, you're afraid of getting good, in my opinion. Any of the shallowing drills we did with the stick behind or stick in front, where you gotta learn to rotate it, good idea. Learn how to hit it solid, low and left first, add rotation later. We're on like part 13. Do the face stuff first before you do the rotation stuff. So couple things, couple thoughts, couple drills to work around with that. This may be 1 or 2 or 3 or 7 videos all together. Hope that all makes sense. If you guys have any questions, as always, just leave a comment down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. If you guys liked the video, please do me a favor, click the like button down below. Click the notification bell if you haven't. Also, please subscribe. Another reminder, if you guys want more instruction from me tailored for you, check out CogornoGolf.com. The link is in the description down below. Thanks, guys.